Chucka Boys on 790 CFCW. I don't know why I blush every time I say the Boom Chucka Boys. I'm really blushing now because the boys are in the studio. Welcome, 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 and welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe you guys could just introduce yourselves since we have all the microphones on here instead of me introducing you guys, and tell me what your favorite coffee is too, because we're here to promote your latest single, Caffeine.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it has a lot to do with coffee, right?
Yeah, well, my name is Ryan, and I drink my coffee black, and it's delicious.
I'm Teddy Roy, and I love mochas with all the fat trimming.
Yeah.
My name's Joel, and I like Cafe Verona from Starbucks.
I'm Dave, and I'm just a cream and sugar one regular guy.
Yeah, well in a bit I'm going to tell you what your coffee says about you. I've got a list, so yeah, I'd be a little scared. And also what your coffee mug says about you. And the Boom Chucka Boys did bring me a brand new coffee mug, and on the back it says Caffeine. So if your mug has some writing on it, apparently that says something about you too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But let's talk about the name first off. Ryan, Skinny Legs.
Yeah.
Tell us how you guys came up with the name the Boom Chucka Boys.
Yeah, well, when I was doing the singer-songwriter thing, I had a drummer sitting with me one day, and he said, Ryan, it's kind of boring being your drummer because all you ever want is the boom chucka, boom chucka, boom chucka beat. Don't you want to do something different? I said, no, not really. That's just kind of what I like. And then it just kind of stuck. And then when we got together, we literally had a vote on the name and came with the Boom Chucka Boys. Smokey Joel voted against it.
Yeah.
What did Smokey Joel want?
Just not that.
Oh. Were there any other names?
It's grown on me though.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't really remember if there was anything really different than that, but I'm glad the majority ruled on that one.
So what's the kind of response that you get when you introduce yourselves on stage and you say, we are the Boom Chucka Boys, and people are hearing you guys for the first time?
Everyone blushes.
Yeah.
The Boom Chucka Boys.
People love it though. It's because it really is different, and it is kind of a funny. Like it makes people smile instantly. So it's good.
Yeah, so I mean that kind of reflects your music because your music is not depressing at all because you do have that groove, and I guess you guys have described it as kind of like groove country. Yeah. So how did you guys meet?
Yeah, it's kind of cool actually. I met Teddy Roy at church, just chatting one day, and then Joel, met him at work, and Dave, I just sent him a random email when I moved to Red Deer and said, hey, you're a drum tech at the music shop. I'm looking for a drummer. Do you know anybody? And he said, let's meet for some coffee. And we sat down, and over coffee, he said, you know what, man, I kind of like what you're doing. I'd love to sit in with you for a while.
Gord Bamford has called you guys the most unique group to come along in quite some time, and he actually discovered you. Maybe one of you guys can tell us a story about that night that he walked into that bar.
Smokey.
He tells it the best.
Yeah, well, we were just finishing up a set at one of the places in Red Deer that kind of gave us our live performance debut, and he showed up, and we finished our set and came off stage, and him and his crew were kind of sitting there just having a bevy on a Saturday night. And they came up and introduced themselves and said, you know, man, we just kind of like what you're doing. A cool look, cool sound. We'd like you to come open a show for us. And we're all going like, what? It's just, you know, kind of taken aback. And I actually went to the bathroom, and the manager was in there washing his hands up. And he said, no, like, we're serious. We want you to come do this. And we literally shook hands after we washed our hands in the bathroom, and Monday morning they had sent an email with a contract, and we've been working with them ever since.
And did you ever think that Gord Bamford would hook you up with Byron Hill, his producer?
It's been amazing.
And I understand you guys are heading down to Nashville next month as well to work with Byron Hill again on your next album.
Yeah, we're heading down to Nashville as a band, and Ryan and I are going to write with Byron and Buddy Owens, who just won Songwriter of the Year of Gord, and Phil O'Donnell. Lining up different people to write with us, so it's pretty exciting. Yeah,
and Ryan, you had an interesting story about Phil O'Donnell because he has worked with George Strait.
Yeah, well, Byron wrote George's first #1, and Phil wrote his 60th #1. So we're working with both of them, so it's kind of
surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right, more with the Boom Chucka Boys in just a moment, including they will be playing their next single called Caffeine live for us, so stick around.